Welcome to a new What I Eat in a Day. I was asked to make a video where I track my food and show you the nutrition breakdown. So I will go through all of that in the end of the video. And yeah, so I put it in the end, so if you're triggered by when people talk about calories, you can still watch the video up until that point and then just click out. But anyway, this morning I felt like having a savory breakfast, so I made myself a chickpea omelette. I got a comment saying that it's not an omelette, but a pancake, but a lot of people who eat plant-based call it an omelette, and on the packaging to my chickpea flour, they even suggest that you can make an omelette with it. So yeah, I will keep calling it an omelette. Anyway, I just add half a cup of chickpea flour to a bowl along with some spices like paprika powder, turmeric powder, onion and garlic powder, herb salt, and black pepper. I had to take a breath. And I also add some nutritional yeast because I like the flavor, but it also adds some extra protein. And then I just add the same amount of water as the chickpea flour and whisk to combine. Then I added whatever vegetables I had on hand, so this time it was chopped green onion, and then I just grated a carrot and added that as well. Sometimes I add fresh herbs, but today I didn't feel like it. Then I added some avocado oil to a pan and cooked the omelette on medium heat until it had, well, hardened. I really felt like having crisp bread with avocado with this, so that's what I had. On top of the avocado, I sprinkled on some herb salt, and then I had a tiny bit of sauerkraut left, so I just added whatever I had left. Unfortunately, I only had enough for one piece of bread. I also had a small bowl of wild blueberries with my breakfast because they are super healthy and full of antioxidants, and normally I don't have dark chocolate in the morning, but this day I felt like having it so I could get a little bit more energy. And then I also had some green tea, which can interfere with the iron absorption of your meals, so it's technically better to drink it in between meals, but I don't always play by the rules. I had a workout before lunch, so afterwards I wanted to get some extra protein, so I first had some collagen. If I don't add it to a smoothie, I just mix it with water and, well, I just let it dissolve until it looks like pee, basically. The pee of someone who is not hydrated. And then I just had this simple leftover orzo salad. It's just orzo, cucumber, green onion, cherry tomatoes, chickpeas, and a vinaigrette. Super simple, but also super tasty. I had made my own plant milk the day before with sesame seeds, and I had some sesame pulp left. And yeah, I didn't want to waste it, so in the afternoon I baked some cookies using the pulp. I will link the recipes both to the sesame milk and the pulp cookies in the description box. Sesame seeds are naturally high in calcium, so by making a plant milk out of them, you will get a homemade plant milk with more natural calcium than most other homemade plant milks. Plus, it's nut-free. But you can of course make these cookies with any plant milk pulp, at least if you used nuts or seeds. I don't know about oat pulp because it doesn't have as much fat as nuts or seeds. But anyway, I used a mashed ripe banana to sweeten the cookies, and then I added the dry ingredients to a separate bowl, so it was oat flour, cocoa powder, baking powder and a pinch of salt. If I ever use liquid sweeteners in my baking or cooking, I tend to only go for about 1 tablespoon. I just feel like using fruit to sweeten stuff is more natural because you're using the whole food, not just extracting the sugar from it. I used honey just to make them a little bit sweeter, but if you're vegan, you can use maple syrup instead or skip it entirely for less sweet cookies. But yeah, then I added vanilla extract, the sesame pulp, and a tablespoon of melted coconut oil. I also tend to just use about 1 tablespoon of oil for the same reason as with the sweetener. I prefer to use tahini when baking, which is just ground sesame seeds, and you can add nut butter or tahini instead of the oil. I just got the feeling that coconut oil would be better for the texture and the flavor of this recipe in particular. But I will try them with tahini sometime as well, just to see the difference. Then I combined the dry and wet ingredients into a sticky dough, and I scooped out the dough onto a baking sheet lined with parchment paper. I also tried to shape them a little bit because they kind of look like, I baked the cookies at 175 degrees Celsius for 20 minutes. You can check out the blog post for the Fahrenheit conversion because I put it there. And they come out so chewy and delicious, so it's definitely a good recipe to make use of your plant milk pulp. I had 3 of these, I think, with some of the sesame seed milk that I had made. And if you've never made plant milk before, try my recipe and then make these cookies with the pulp. I wanted to make a creamy tahini mushroom pasta for dinner, so that's what I did. I will link this recipe in the description as well. I prepared the pasta water first, then I started frying the mushrooms. I don't remember where, but I read somewhere that the best way to cook mushrooms is to cook them dry in the pan first and then let them release their water before adding any oil. So I added them to the pan without anything else. And once the pasta water was boiling, I added my whole wheat spaghetti. When the water had evaporated from the mushrooms, I added avocado oil and then added garlic, and I let it cook until the mushrooms were more golden. Then I added in frozen green peas and let them cook until they had thawed and were cooked through. I also sprinkled in some sea salt And then I added in frozen kale. You can add fresh spinach or fresh kale for that matter. I think frozen kale is more convenient than fresh, and I also prefer the taste of kale opposed to cooked spinach. Then I prepared the tahini cream. So this tahini is not super runny as you can see, but it works. I also added garlic powder, lemon juice, and nutritional yeast. I added salt and black pepper as well, and then I gradually added water and whisked it into a creamy sauce. Normally, I would combine everything in the pan, but since I wanted to take photos of this in daylight for my blog, I wanted the leftovers to look as fresh as possible, so I just assembled everything in my bowl. And by the way, you should include fresh basil as well, but I forgot to buy it this time. But it's in the recipe on the blog, so you won't miss it. But yeah, this is so good and so easy to make, so I really encourage you to try out the recipe. After dinner, I had another cookie, and that was everything I ate. Please stick around if you want to see the nutrition breakdown of the day, because I'm just gonna get right into it. As you can see, I filmed this video in March, and it's actually still March now that I'm recording this voiceover, but I think this video is going up in April. And just a disclaimer before I begin, this is not for you to like copy it, because we're all different. We all have different requirements when it comes to calories, protein, and like everything. I'm a pretty petite person, so it all depends on your activity level, your age, height, and like so many different factors, like how many calories you need and everything. So don't compare yourself too much, please. I will go through everything and talk more about that. So yeah, and the website to track my food and check all of the nutrients and everything, it's called, well, I've heard so many people pronounce it differently. Some people say Cronometer, some people say Cronometer, but it's a free website. The only issue is that it doesn't track certain nutrients very well, like vitamin E, for instance. I'm first gonna go through each meal and then break down the nutrition for like the entire day. So let's start with breakfast. I had the chickpea flour omelette, the crisp bread with avocados and blueberries, a little square of dark chocolate, and it was 552 calories. I like to keep my breakfast around, this amount. I mean, I don't count it before I eat it. I just eat whatever I want to eat, and I guess I have a hunch on how much it is, but I don't really keep track. I feel like when I eat around 300 calories for breakfast, I get hungry like super fast, and it's not nice. Studies have also shown that you are more insulin sensitive early in the day, so I like to have more calories early in the day since I have a genetic higher risk of developing type 2 diabetes. So yeah, this breakfast is 18% protein, 56% carbs, and 27% fat. And here you can see the breakdown in grams. So 23.1 grams. Chickpea flour is pretty high in protein, so it definitely contributed the most. And then the crisp bread contributed some. Nutritional yeast is high in protein, but usually you just sprinkle a little bit, but still you almost got 2 grams more protein. And then the net carbs. Net carbs is when you subtract the fiber from the like overall carb content. So it's 60.5 grams, and then the fat is 17.2, and the avocado contributed the most. Here you can see more of the nutrition. You don't need these to be full for every meal. You don't even need them to be full for like every single day. I will talk more about that later. But yeah, here you can see, so it had 20.4 grams of fiber. Some people ask me like how I can eat that much fiber. I don't have any issues. I guess I just made my body used to it. You definitely have to increase your intake gradually, because otherwise maybe you would not tolerate this much fiber in one meal. And here you can see that chickpea flour also has a lot of folate. And yeah, here you can see the rest of the nutrition. So I don't really know if there's a lot to say about this, except maybe it has 5 grams of iron. And I don't know, I don't remember if I mentioned it in the video, because I'm recording the voiceover for this thing and for the video on separate days. But in case I didn't mention it, when you have iron, green tea and coffee obviously can inhibit the absorption. And usually I like to have green tea with my breakfast or like right after, which is not ideal, but I try to eat iron-rich foods like the rest of the day, but every day will also look different, so it's good to keep in mind to like optimize your iron intake. Let's go with lunch. As you can see, I did some resistant training, so I had my collagen to get extra protein, and then I had the orzo salad. I don't know, in Sweden we call it risoni, not orzo, so in case you're wondering about the spelling. And I also did not misspell collagen, it's how we pronounce it in Swedish as well. So my lunch was 500 calories. It will look different every single day. Some days I have a lunch that is 700 calories, like it's very, very different from day to day. And it had actually, we can look at you can see the percentage on the screen, but then we can look at it here. So the protein, it was 28.7 grams, and the salad did not have a lot of protein. When I make my meals, I try to not be like, oh, it needs to have this much protein and like I try definitely to always add a protein source, but I just have to accept that sometimes some meals are slightly lower. Ideally, I want my meals to have 20 grams of protein, but the collagen here helped, as you can see. Even though I think you should get most of your nutrients from food, a supplement can help sometimes. The net carbs was pretty much the same as the breakfast, almost, and fat 11.6 grams and less fiber. But the salad had a lot of vitamin K. The rest, I don't know if there's that's much to say. And then we have these snacks. So I had those cookies and a little bit of sesame milk, definitely higher in fat than the other meals. And yeah, I like to keep my snacks. I mean, again, I don't calculate like the calories in advance. I pretty much just naturally gravitate towards having a snack, I guess, that is around I don't know, 200 to 300 calories or something. But again, that's just me, like we're all different, as I said. So the snack, yeah, it's lower in protein and net carbs, but still pretty high in fiber, I would say. And here you can see the calcium content. I just want to mention that the milk that I put into this website is not the same as the one that I made, because I'm using the seeds, but then I'm like mixing them with water and then straining it. So I don't really know exactly how I would type it in here, and so I don't know how accurate the calcium content is, but also I didn't have a lot of the milk anyway, because like the only way I know how to assess the calcium content, I actually had a lab when I was at university in analytical chemistry. We analyzed the calcium content of different types of milk, but obviously I could not do that at home. I don't have the right tools, and yeah. And then we have the dinner. I'm including the cookie because I had it like straight after dinner, so I see it as part of my dinner, even though it was like a dessert. But this is the breakdown like without the cookie. And then when I add the cookie, it looks like this: 567 calories, 24.6 grams of protein, a little higher in fat. Like, it's different. Some days I will eat lower in fat, some days I will eat higher in fat. Every day is different. I also had omega-3 and magnesium after dinner, but I didn't log it here. I just wrote that I had it. Again, I don't really know. I think we should look at the entire day instead. And for the entire day, this day I ate 1,960 calories. Again, this will look so different every single day. Some days I have a little less, some days I have a little more. It really just depends, and it doesn't really matter that I ate just 34 calories less than I expended. This day I had 87.7 grams of protein. Some people think that you always need 100 grams of protein every single day. It really depends on who you are, as I've said before, and as many people probably have heard, the standard requirement for protein is 0.8 grams of protein per kilogram body weight. But if you are an active person, maybe you're strength training or just simply working out, or you just want to eat more protein, some people go for anything between 1.2 to 1.6 grams of protein per kilogram body weight, or 1.6 to 2 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight. This day I ate a little bit more than 1.6, not quite 1.7, but like, yeah, about 1.6 grams of protein per kilogram. I don't really pay that much attention to these. I don't even remember the word in English, what these are, but yeah, so as you can see, the net carbs is, I don't want to say low, but like it's lower than this says, but it's nothing. Like I don't even pay attention to them. And it also says that I ate too much fat, and again, it will look different every single day. Sometimes I have around 50 grams of fat, sometimes I have around almost 70, you know, it's very, very different. But I did look up my fat requirement, and it's somewhere between I don't remember if it was 50 to 70, something like that. So I'm within range, I would say. Okay, so for these nutrients, and like all of the nutrients here, you don't have to have them at 100% every single day. This is something that they talked a lot about when I studied nutrition science. And we had these assessments where we had to track our food intake for like more than one day. You get a much better picture of someone's nutritional intake if you look at the average for multiple days. So for instance, this day my vitamin C intake was 76% of the RDI, but the day before or the day after, like, it maybe have been 121%. It's very different from day to day. And the calcium only 47% this day, which it's not bad, because I know that other days I have over 100%, some days I have 100, sometimes I have like 95%. Yeah, you don't have to be exact. And also the problem is that with the sesame milk, I just typed in a random sesame milk. I don't know exactly how much calcium the sesame milk that I made contain. And biotin is another nutrient that doesn't track super well, and vitamin E, as I said. Vitamin D, sometimes I supplement it. I didn't do it this day. Other days I do, or you can get it from the sun. And I think choline, I don't remember if this website tracks it well or if I just simply maybe didn't eat it enough. I had 52.5 grams of fiber, which is quite average for me. So my omega-3 to omega-6 ratio wasn't great today. I did take a supplement, so this is not 100% accurate. I did consume a little bit more omega-3 than what it says, but still, I did have a lot of sesame seeds this day. I had Tahiti, the sesame seed milk, and the cookies with sesame seed pulp, because yeah, sesame seeds are quite high in omega-6, but you can of course balance it out by eating more flax seeds. I have started having flax seeds in my oatmeal for most days, but this day I didn't have oatmeal. I tend to have flax seeds in my smoothies as well, and I also like to have hemp seeds, which is also pretty high in omega-3. It would also look different from day to day, but I also want to mention that sesame seeds are not unhealthy just because that they contain omega-6. The problem with omega-6 is that so many processed and ultra processed foods contains it like in higher amounts. People just consume too much of it, but if you eat a whole food diet or like a predominantly whole food diet, you should be well off. So for saturated fat, I had 15.2 grams. The guidelines usually say, the guidelines are different in every country, but usually they say that you should eat less than 10% of your caloric intake during the day. But in grams, that could be about less than about 20 grams. So this is perfect. And when it comes to protein, a lot of people think that, oh, you can't get enough protein on a plant-based diet. Obviously, I don't eat 100% plant-based, but I eat a lot of plant-based foods, I would say like 95%. And the collagen is actually not the only like supplement or food, whatever, that contributed to the most of these amino acids. As you can see, all of these foods contribute, and I do have more than enough of the amino acids. And obviously here you can see it doesn't show the percentage. I don't actually know why, but as I said, this website is not perfect. Iodine is another nutrient that this website doesn't track very well, but I do eat iodized salt, but I don't track it, because I just sprinkle it, so it's pointless. Or like if I have like half a teaspoon or a teaspoon of salt in a recipe, I can put that in the recipe, but yeah, if I just sprinkle it, nah. My iron intake was okay. I could have had like a few more milligrams, I would say, and obviously I had the green tea, which inhibits iron absorption, but again, every day doesn't look the same. Some days I have over 20 milligrams of iron, and some days it looks like this, but I really try to not eat less than 15 milligrams, especially since plant-based iron is not as bioavailable. So I really try to not stay under 15 milligrams. And for magnesium, as I said, I took a supplement, so I did consume a little more than this. Another nutrient that they don't have anything for. And again, if I sprinkle some salt in a recipe, I don't really track it, so I probably consumed a little bit more sodium. I don't really know what else to say, but again, I just want to really stress that we're all different, so you may need more or less than I do. And also, looking at just one day is not enough to assess someone's nutritional intake. It's much better to look at multiple days and take the average, because today I didn't have any leafy greens, only a little bit in the pasta, and I also didn't have any fortified plant milk. Technically, you shouldn't need it if you eat foods that are naturally high in calcium, and again, like the iron intake, sometimes it's higher, sometimes the protein intake is higher, and sometimes the fat intake is lower or same or higher, slightly higher. It's very, very different from every day. Some days I have more fiber. But yeah, I think that was everything for this video. Thank you so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed it and that you liked that I went through everything that I ate and that we looked at the nutrition. If you liked it, then don't forget to click the thumbs up button, because that would really help me out. And if you're not subscribed already, hit the subscribe button so you will see more videos from me. And I will see you in my next video.